the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Yeah, man, this is Nadine Sutherland, because we triumphant, because we not stay down, we not go down. Stop one like we are conquer, we triumphant. Yeah, this is Nadine Sutherland. Big it up, Rockers TV with Urchin.
Joining us for CVM News at noon. It's Thursday, March 5, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. We begin with a CVM News follow-up. Grief has gripped the nation following the tragic killing of a 16-year-old student of the Ocho Rios High School in St. Anne on Wednesday. The 16-year-old was hit in the head by a 17-year-old schoolmate with whom he reportedly had an ongoing dispute. Now that 17-year-old is now in police custody. The Ministry of Education and other government officials visited the school this morning, and we'll hear from them in a moment. But first, Milton Shearer, the father of the deceased Devontae Shearer, recalls final conversations with his best child. He spoke with CVM's head of news, Andre Jebinson.
This is the home that Devontae shared with his father and his stepmother. When we got here this morning, they were surrounded by people from the community, a visit from the Minister of Education and her team, and other agents of the state. Now, the mood this morning was dejection, and that's understandable because they described him as someone who was polite, someone with good manners, someone who was a prospective sprinter, and someone who they thought had a very bright future. And so the entire community this morning had a difficult time coming to terms with the fact that Devontae went to school yesterday but did not return. But of all the people I spoke with, his father seemed to be the one that's most affected by the death of his son.
Yes. I I'm alive. I work with there. The power power scaffold can come and tell me in the hospital to papa the scaffold. To papa the scaffold. And come and tell me say boy, me call teacher she tell me that they can't tell me what me have to come up at school and to the hospital that me say I'm dead in the hospital.
No.
Easy, man. Go easy, man. Somebody like that, man. Somebody like stay, man. Go easy, man. Go easy, go easy.
So that was Milton Shearer, Devontae's father. We'll have some more details to share with you in CVM News at 7 later this evening. But for now, I'm Andre Jebinson reporting from Buckfield, Ocho Rios in St. Anne. Back to you, Amoy.
Meanwhile, Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon has described as tragic and unfortunate the incident which led to the death of Devontae Shearer. She says the ministry will provide support for the staff and students.
No, this is as tragic an event as you could imagine. I know when I got the call yesterday from the regional team, it was just heartbreaking, and I started to pray hoping that the student would be okay. And then it was even more devastating last night when I was told that the student passed away at the hospital. It is a very, very sad morning, extremely sad morning. And no child, as I said before, no child should be at school in the morning, come through the gates of a school in the morning and not go back home alive. And so it's hit us really, really hard. And so today we're here to support the school, to support the principal, support the teachers. I mean, they're working under difficult conditions today. We have counseling teams here from in the parish, outside of the parish, supporting the school community, and we have committed to the school that whatever they need in the months to come, we are here to provide that.
In the meantime, Northeast St. Anne Member of Parliament Matthew Samuda says the government is committed to offering psychological support to the community and affected families as they grieve. MP Samuda also echoed the need for greater community involvement in socializing the nation's children and helping school communities maintain peace and discipline.
Parents aren't supposed to bury the children. It breaks the natural order of the lived experience that we all expect. So when something like this happens and the circumstances that we're being told of that surround the issue, it makes it even more tragic than you want to contemplate. The students are hurting, the teachers are hurting, the principal, the school board, but the whole community is indeed hurting. And we will need significant psychosocial support interventions in the community to ensure that this becomes a rallying cry for communities to work together and to give a better eye to our children and not something that divides us.
And the president of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, is sounding the alarm this afternoon amid a growing number of fights taking place in schools across the island. Wright says the issue of violence among students is far more complex than many may believe. According to him, the incidents are not just disciplinary matters, but are often rooted in psychological, social, and even historical factors that impact students' behavior.
We have got to ensure that in the way community policing has got to be one of those things that help people to soften their skills. In the way we invest in the social side of schooling. We're talking about CXC results. The fact is that you want people to pass the CXC in 5 years, but the truth is that we have got them to pass habits and character and honesty. You know, things like that. We want habits of character and honesty. We have got to ensure that we have systems that actually develop this. Enough time is not spent developing those things. It has to be better parenting. And this is the first thing I should have said. That parents have got to ensure that we nurture skills that are soft skills in our children. Responsibility, integrity, care, love. Those things are things we've got to talk about.
The JAP's president is now calling for a multi-sector approach involving parents, educators, counselors, and community leaders to address the deeper issues contributing to school violence.
If you take it, for example, from slavery, many of us have had to deal with aggression historically. To correct things, to deal with any kind of matter that our masters had, it was aggression that they used to actually deal with that sort of thing. You check many of our young people, what is happening with them? Significant trauma. They are beaten, they are spoken to aggressively, and there's a feeling that we cannot resolve anything without being draconian. The same kind of thing I feel with our police. Our police, for example, figure that if you notice, for example, how we're dealing with crime now, there's a concern with how we figure that what has to happen is that we have to kill. So the police feels that kind of thing. Many people feel that kind of thing. People feel they have to have guns, they have to have arms in order to deal with things. What really is happening with our society is that we have not spent enough time to develop and nurture soft skills and develop approaches that are not inimical to people's lives.
Meanwhile, the nation is again being reminded of the fragility of childhood following two heartbreaking tragedies involving young children just days apart. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is expressing profound sorrow after the deaths of 5-year-old Rakima Williams of Rocky Point, Clarendon, and 10-week-old Mateo Forbes of Top Hill in Manchester. Chief Executive Officer of the CPFSA, Laurette Adams Thomas, says the agency is deeply saddened by the incident and is again urging parents, caregivers and communities to remain vigilant in ensuring the safety and well-being of children.
There are no words that can adequately capture the heartbreak of losing a child in such sudden and tragic circumstances. You know, Rakima's death is a painful reminder that hazards can exist in and around our homes, especially when families are in transition or unfamiliar environments. we are appealing to all parents and caregivers to know where your children are at all times. Carefully inspect the spaces where children play. Ensure that yards, outbuildings, drains, and other areas are properly secured and free from potential dangers before allowing children to access them.
In other news now, a man is dead and 3 others injured following a mass shooting at a bar in Seaforth Town in Westmoreland Tuesday night. The deceased has been identified as 21-year-old Dante Wiltshire, otherwise called Tamba. Reports said that on Tuesday night, all 4 victims were at Kemisha's bar when a silver Toyota Axiom motor car drove up. 2 men armed with high-powered weapons alighted from the car and opened fire inside the bar, hitting all 4 patrons. The gunmen escaped in the waiting motor car. Now the victims were rushed to hospital where Wiltshire was pronounced dead. In the meantime, detectives at the Sapna-Lamar police station have launched a manhunt for 2 men who they believe are behind the shootings. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck says thousands of convicted Jamaicans will now get a meaningful second chance following amendments to the Criminal Records Act 2026. This was one of the main provisions outlined by the key reforms contained in the amended act.
The central objective of these amendments is to strengthen and modernize the expungement framework in Jamaica by expanding access to expungement in appropriate cases, clarifying the decision-making framework of the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Board, and increasing efficiency and fairness in the process.
Let's go now to a break. When we come back, we'll have our live interview.
The morning. Elegance isn't just seen, it's sensed. Set on Jamaica's north coast, the Montego Bay Convention Center rises with intention. A space designed to inspire, connect, and lead. Polished, purpose-built, poised for what's next. Step into a venue where scale meets serenity, where openness isn't just a design, it's a philosophy. This is more than a venue.
Vitex, the vital solution for all your cleaning needs. Vitex laundry gel, 1 cap it goes a long way. Up to 100 wash and your clothes them right same way. It deep clean so no dirt no odor can stay. Vitex, the vital solution for all your cleaning needs. Vitex disinfectant, kill germs, no delay. Vitex dishwashing liquid, with dirt and paint it don't play. Vitex bleach takes all the stains away. Vitex, distributed by Boston Trading.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. As concerns grow over a series of fights and incidents of violence in schools across the island, educators are calling for urgent action to address the problem. To discuss these issues and what solutions may be needed, we're now joined by President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mark Malavo, who is with us on Zoom. Good afternoon, Mr. Malavo.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon to your listeners.
Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. So, in St. Anne, the Ocho Rios High student, he was died following an attack by another schoolmate. Earlier this week, we saw where a video started to go viral on social media of another fight that happened at a school, we believe, in St. James. From the perspective of teachers on the ground, what seems to be the main factors driving this type of behavior among our students?
There has been a proliferation of maladaptive behavior on the part of many of our students, and many of this is coming from the home into the institutions, the respective institutions, and it is beginning to create a problem. A lot of it has to do with socialization. A lot of it has to do with, how children, students settle disagreements within their respective space. And some of it is even coming from within the various communities that they may reside in. Unfortunately, we keep saying this thing that, you know, schools are microcosms of society, and the reality is that schools were never created to be microcosms of society. As a matter of fact, society should be macrocosms of schools. In other words, it is supposed to be schools that really should shape society, and that is from a philosophical standpoint. I think the time has come for us to have very frank, upfront conversations about student discipline and what that should look like within an educational institution.
On the note of discipline, though, Mr. Malava, some educators, they're suggesting that the issue actually goes beyond just discipline and it may involve deeper psychological or social challenges. How equipped do you think our schools currently are to actually deal with these underlying issues?
To the extent that our schools are sufficiently equipped, from where I sit, I don't believe we are. I believe that there is a need for that sort of upfront dialogue as to what is happening. But I will also say that, you know, from a Ministry of Education perspective, they need to determine what it is that a school should look like and what mechanisms are to be in place to treat with these maladaptive behavior. In many respects, many of our schools are not equipped to deal with it. And it's one of the reasons why as JTA president, I've called for the presence of deans of discipline in every single school. It's one of the reasons that I have called for, you know, a ratio, for example, with respect to deans of discipline in the various schools. There's also the psychosocial component of things, and that needs to be, and that definitely needs greater support. I know that the Ministry of Education would have implemented various initiatives, but there comes a point where if those initiatives are not working, then we are going to have to treat with these students. And in some of these instances, we are going to have to surgically remove these students from the school community. If it is that they are a threat to themselves, a threat to the rest of the student population and the general staff, including our teachers. You know, just late last year into early this year, one of our teachers was attacked from behind in one of the high schools, and she is now out. You know, she's now out because she sustained injuries, and she now has to be going back and forth to court on this matter. It is raising significant challenges within our schools, and it distracts from the core functions, core function of educational institutions.
So on that note, Mr. Malava, we see where a lot of time teachers are actually the first responders when these kind of incidents occur in our classrooms or anywhere on the school compound. What kind of impact is this rising level of violence actually having on our teachers?
It does dampen morale amongst our teachers. You know, the JTA is on record as saying that the teachers are not under any obligation to intervene in fights in a physical way. They must, however, give very clear instructions. And this is based on even what is coming out of the lawsuit with respect to a corporate area institution and what the court ruled there. But how is it that you are able to separate students physically in which they are fighting? That creates major challenges, because if a teacher intervenes into that sort of scenario, then they run the risk.
Mr. Malava, I think we lost you there. Are you still here with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes, you were making a point about our teachers. Is it that you think that perhaps our teachers don't have sufficient support and the type of training to deal with these sort of incidents?
I didn't hear you. Chipped out just now.
Right. I was asking if you think that our teachers have enough support and training to deal with these sort of incidents in our schools.
No. No, they don't. And our teachers are not equipped to treat with some of the type of incidences that you're seeing raising their heads in some of our schools. They were never trained for this type of thing.
So we're almost out of time, but looking at the bigger picture now, Mr. Malava, what specific steps should the government, the education ministry, or even our parents and communities be taking right now to help reduce the violence that we're seeing in our schools and create somewhat of a safer learning environment for students and staff?
Well, one of the things that I believe ought to happen,